Okay, so next up in our series of world champions, Alexander Hagberg. Alexander, thank you for joining us, and I guess you've got a bit of a mixture in terms of your world championship wins, 12 scale and 1/10 nitro. So let's think about your very first world championship. What did it feel like, that moment where you crossed the line and became a world champion?
Honestly, almost disbelief, I would say, that the moment came. I mean, you never know if you'll ever have that opportunity throughout your race career because, first of all, there's not that many world championships. There's only every 2 years per class. You only get so many opportunities to try and get the job done. No matter how many other races you have won, the world championship is always special, and you need not only luck, but everything needs to come together for just that weekend. And so I would say almost disbelief, but also relief in a way, happiness, of course.
And thinking about that, the whole world championship is not just the the finals itself. It's about the qualifying. It's about the preparation, everything leading up to it. So how's your mindset? How do you approach those races? And you've done plenty of world championships. You mentioned they're not that often, but you're probably going to one maybe one every year, depending on the classes you're racing at that time. So how do you think about preparation and maybe think about somebody or maybe a 12 scale world? How did you kind of lead up to those wins?
I mean, as a competitive racer, you want to win every race that you attend, no matter if it's a club race or world championships. So that competitive mindset is always with you, but I would say almost subconsciously you have 5% more effort for world championships just because of it being a world championship. But yes, the mechanical preparation, the test work you do leading up to the event, of course, is a little bit more substantial, I would say. You just try to be a bit more prepared than you would for another race. You set more time aside to prepare for the race.
And in terms of setting the time aside, you're a professional full-time racer. So what does that look like for you? What's a typical day or week or few days for Alexander Hagberg?
So I think the role as a professional RC racer has changed a bit throughout the years. It's not what it was 20 years ago when you were purely a racer. Mm-hmm. This has also changed a lot because of social media, as you can imagine, that there's a lot more expected from you as a racer today. Not only what you do on track in terms of racing, testing and development, but I also do, of course, social media work with X-Ray, which they're one of the brands that are at the forefront of social media work. But I actually do a lot of office work for X-Ray as well, in terms of preparing text for the manuals, text for the new items that we release. I do customer support by email. So I have a full-time job, but it consists not only of racing, not only the fun stuff, let's say. I also have a lot of normal office work, which I do on the days when I'm not at the track.
And I think you mentioned social media, and you're one of probably the best known in terms of your social media presence and, providing a lot of information through YouTube videos, through Facebook posts, things like that. And you seem to really grasp that concept and been able to figure out how to do that and reach a wide audience. How successful do you think that's been for you, and how crucial is it? You mentioned it's crucial as part of your role anyway, but now as we move into that world we're in today, how important is that for a company to have that support there?
I mean, I think together with X-Ray, it goes both ways, that the brand X-Ray has helped build my name in the industry, but on the other side of things, I've helped X-Ray become more popular, perhaps because of my social media presence, which caters, I think, not only to X-Ray customers actually, but to RC racers in general. Mm-hmm. They can watch my tech tip videos and learn things which is helpful for their hobby or for their racing program. So I think it goes both ways, and I think it has helped myself and X-Ray tremendously.
And obviously you touched on, you're at a track sometimes, but then doing a lot of, as you call it, kind of the office work in the meantime. But during that time, I guess you've also got to prepare your cars, prepare your travel schedule, all of those, I guess, kind of boring things as well happening there too. So how do you manage to balance that up, and how far, have you got a schedule now that tells you where you're going to be every day for the next 6 months or something in place?
We always try to have a set schedule for, let's say, 6 months in advance at least, so I can also plan the time for my family, for my wife, these kind of things, like to have a set travel schedule. But then, of course, there's smaller races and test sessions, which are a lot more with shorter time ahead that they're planned. So it's something you sometimes cannot predict as well. So I mean, it's a little flexible sometimes, but there's some some races that you know months in advance that you'll do.
Yeah.
So I also try to plan my personal schedule in relation to that. Maybe this week I need to be more at the track to prepare for an upcoming race. If there's no big race coming up, then I'll try to do more office work or things like that.
And let's talk about your home life as well, outside of RC. You mentioned your family there. Obviously, that's a really important piece for you. You're a Swedish driver. You lived in the UK for a while. You're now living in Portugal with your wife. Tell us about, how your life has changed, and is that due to RC as well?
Yeah, so I grew up in Sweden. I lived in Sweden until I was 25. When I met my wife, she currently lived in the UK. And for that reason, I moved to the UK to be with her for a few years. We lived together there. We kind of built a life there. She works as a nurse. She works for the NHS. But then we got married. We had a child. And after we had a child, we realized that it's probably better for us to move closer to her family, which is in Portugal, her home country. So we moved actually in the middle of COVID to Portugal, where we consider to be permanently living now.
Yeah.
So actually I haven't lived in my home country for more than 10 years now. So it feels weird in a way, but I still consider Sweden is my home, but UK felt like home for a while, but now Portugal is my permanent home.
Yeah.
But since I travel so much for work, it's also hard in a way to really call something permanently home, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess so. There's two questions I got off the back of that. Obviously, you mentioned moving back to Portugal. I guess that's to have the family support around for your kid as well, then, which is really important. What's it been like seeing them start to grow up now as well? That's changed your perspective on life, I guess, as well, to have a child and watch them start to grow.
Yeah, totally. So my son is 6 years old now. He's going to start school in September.
Yeah.
So of course it's a lot of fun. Takes a lot of time.
Yes.
And I sort of value things differently. I mean, when I was younger, RC was 100% important to me.
Yeah.
Now it's turned more into a job, let's say. I mean, I still have big passion for what I do, but I cannot dedicate as much time as I would when I was without a child and without a wife.
Yeah.
That's something that's changed in my life. But I'm still super passionate and super fortunate to be able to do this as a full-time job.
Yeah, and that sort of leads into the next question I was going to ask, which is you mentioned not really being able to call anywhere home, and I guess you still have to, you're spending a lot of your time in airports, on planes, and living in hotel rooms.
Yes.
So you've got to have the passion there, because as much as it is a job, and there are people who travel for their work anyway, you're spending a huge amount of time doing it. So if you're not passionate about it, it's going to be difficult to really kind of give it your full during the whole time. Yeah,
100%. And I really enjoy traveling different parts of the world, meet people that share the same passion as me, racing, I mean, I've been traveling actively for at least 10 years as a professional racer. Probably gonna continue traveling for a couple more years. Eventually I'm gonna have to slow down my traveling, maybe do more work where I live or in Europe and so on. But for now, I really enjoy the traveling, even though it seems to get more tiring as you get older, but I'm very passionate about it all.
So linking that into the racing then, World Championships under your belt, that's a huge, I guess, weight off a racer's shoulders. So they are a world champion. You've got multiple World Championships now. That feels good. Going into the future then, is still winning more World Championships at the top of your list, or is there another sort of aim in terms of at least your on-track performance at the moment?
The dream of winning another World Championships is always present, but like I said early on in the interview, you never know even if you're going to get the chance to win even one World Championship title. So to win more than one or a few, never know if it's ever going to happen. If I ever get a chance again, that would be, of course, extremely satisfying. The goal for now is just to try and stay competitive, try and stay on top of things, help X-Ray remain competitive on the market, and just try and continue to do my job, really. Try and win as many races as possible. But it doesn't get easier as you get older, so I feel like I actually have to work even harder now to stay competitive compared to what I did a few years ago. But it also seems like no matter the racing class, everything has become more professional. So it becomes harder to do really well in a specific category, even if you're versatile, multi-talented driver. If you don't dedicate a lot of time into the category, it's really hard to be like a top driver, let's say. You can see it, there's experts in different categories, 8-scale off-road, 10-scale touring car. I think if you try to be competitive in many different categories, you'll struggle to do one really well.
Yeah.
At least that's what I can see from how RC racing is today.
And I guess that's maybe affected the classes you race, because you used to do quite a bit of nitro racing, and obviously won the first world title in 1/10 nitro. But over the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, you've focused almost exclusively on 1/10 electric touring car and 12 scale.
Yeah.
And you've kind of said 12 scale maybe is perhaps your favourite class of the two, but that's where you're focusing anyway at the moment.
Yeah, so definitely 12 scale has been my favorite class for many years, and I also consider myself to be a carpet racer at heart, because
Yep.
that's my natural surface. That's what I grew up racing on, is carpet. So for that reason, 12 scale is also more enjoyable to me. But I don't get to race that much 12 scale throughout the year, maybe 3 or 4 times compared to, let's say, 20 times in touring car. So it's still not a priority, but it is what I do enjoy the most. But in terms of sales and the size of the class, it makes sense for me to not spend as much time on that as I do with touring car, of course.
And I guess that links back into this being a professional job for you. You're representing X-Ray here, and you've got to support them in the best way to get the sales and recognise the different sides of the markets.
Definitely. So we gotta go where the sales are, where the money is, and
Yeah.
that's why, for example, we're here at ETS. You have hundreds of drivers, a lot of paying customers, retail, fully paying customers, which we need to support. We need to be here,
Yep.
not only to show what the car can do, but to be here to help our customers.
And then I guess finally, sort of, you talked about, recognising that you never know if you're going to win one world championship or let alone the next club race even coming up. And there'll be a point where, as drivers typically start to get older, the talent drops away. You said yourself there, you're having to work harder on that. What do you see for yourself in the future then? There'll be a point where you maybe aren't competitive as you want to be. Have you got a sort of plan as to what you want to do further down the line then?
Yeah, so since a few years, my long-term plan was always to build a career with X-Ray, to work
Yeah.
with X-Ray, not only as a driver, but to do things outside of the track. There's many roles I can see myself doing, which I'm already kind of doing, is team managing, customer support, helping with development, maybe even sales or marketing, those sort of things. So I see myself naturally, over time, transferring into a role outside of the track and not as a full-time racer.
And I guess on one side, you really want to make sure you are competitive and racing pretty much as a full-time racer as long as possible. But I guess making sure you've got that plan and maybe that realisation that that's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I have to be realistic. I have to be honest with myself and say that at one point I won't be as competitive as I want to be. And maybe then it's time to step down and let the younger drivers on the team take on that role and start doing more work outside of the track.
So, as a final question, then, what do you think? What's missing from the list, or what's the next success on the list? Is it a racing event? Is it something else in the personal life, or is it kind of looking towards the future? Then, is there a win that's missing from your resume, you think, or if we sit down in 5 years' time, what do you want to have achieved in that time?
I mean, honestly, I feel very accomplished as a racer. I've won many titles throughout the years. Been fortunate to have a lot of success. I'm dreaming of winning another 12 scale European Championships, honestly, because it's what's closest to my heart, and to have 10 titles instead of 9 would just sounds better, I guess.
Yeah.
And so let's say that's maybe my biggest dream for the rest of my racing career.
Fantastic. Well, there's hopefully a long career still ahead of you. It's been great watching your development, as you say, kind of touching on all those different races you've done, all the successes you've had. Adding the World Championships to your list is really important as well. And it's been fantastic to find out a bit about your personal life and life outside the track too. So, Alexander Hagberg, thank you very much for joining us here in our series of World Championship interviews.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.